1 in 3. That's how many American men will face physical violence, sexual assault, or stalking by an intimate partner. 1 in 3 women worldwide will endure physical or sexual abuse, most often by someone they know. But domestic abuse isn't just bruises. It's manipulation, it's fear, it's control that seeps into every part of your life. I'm Ingrid Dutton, and I survived it. Then I created 1 in 3 so no one else has to suffer in silence. Each week, we break that silence together. Occasionally joined by survivors, loved ones, and experts, we talk about the pain, yes, but also about the healing, resilience, and the fight to reclaim your life. This podcast is more than awareness, it's a lifeline. And a reminder, you are seen, you are heard, you are never alone. Search for 1 in 3 wherever you get your podcasts, because every voice matters and every story deserves to be heard.
The United Nations General Assembly designated January 27th, the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. On this annual day of commemoration, the UN urges every member state to honor the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust and millions of other victims of Nazism, and to develop educational programs to help prevent future genocides. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, sister.
Good night, good middle of the night, good sleep.
Magandang habi, magandang hapon,
Magandang umaga.
Umaga. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I really don't want to do this topic, but I really do want to do this topic.
Yeah, 6 million, huh?
Yeah, when I was doing my research, I had to take breaks. I couldn't. It was really sad.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh,
Jinx,
you blackout. Do you know? I don't even know what blackout is. My kids say it to me all the time.
I don't know what that means either. I just laughed.
Okay. I just have one thing that I want to say quick, because I've forgotten to say it on, I think, every episode, and I posted it on social media, but I haven't actually said it. Sorry, you're going to hear my dogs. They're very rambunctious right now. So I just wanted to mention that the Conversing Nurse podcast, Michelle Harris is the host. She was on with us, episode number 39, Skin to Skin. Mm-hmm. She had Annette Needham, or I call her Nettie, who is a nurse practitioner in transplant, and she was on episode number 16, I Love You With All My Kidney, the second half. But Nettie was on with Michelle for episode number 21 of the Conversing Nurse podcast, and I honestly think it was just a brilliant episode. Nettie's so well-spoken. She's very knowledgeable about the topic. And so if you like transplant, if you like nursing, if you like Michelle, if you like Nettie, make sure to go check out that episode. It's great. I love it. And Michelle has a lot of other really fun episodes. Again, if you're a nurse, listen to them. She's trying to get every single specialty, and it's just really interesting to hear about different kinds of nurses that there are out there. But I just wanted to mention that because I keep forgetting to say it. Otherwise,
very cool.
Yes. Otherwise, I don't think I have anything.
I have one update. So you remember how we were teasing Dad about his smell? Well, I feel horrible. So I said something to him, and he has a really, really, really bad sinus infection, and it's the infection in his nose that's causing that smell. So I feel so bad for picking on him about that. And they're like, poor Dad.
Does he know you did?
He was like, no. And he doesn't listen, so he won't know. But he was like, I was like, Dad, sometimes you smell a little sour. He's like, I wondered if anyone else could smell that. Yeah, you didn't know. Poor Dad. He's so sweet. And so I feel like a horrible, horrible, horrible daughter for teasing him behind his back about that.
It's his own fault that it's his own fault that it's behind his back. He should listen.
I agree. He should. But so as soon as he gets back to Wisconsin, he's going to the doctor to get all his stuff fixed and checked out, which is next weekend. Sad face. So that's my only update that I had.
Okay. Well, I think we should stop. I think we're deliberately delaying getting into this.
100%.
So let's just, I say let's, it's you. Why don't you just take us there? Just go.
All right. So as the intro said, January 27th is Holocaust Remembrance Day. So I was going to do a couple survivor stories, but they are just, I couldn't get through more than 3. And so it's just so heartbreaking. So I'm going to read one of them. But I'm not going to go into, Adolf and what made his mindset, but I'm just going to give you a brief overview on what the Nazi camps actually were and some of the facts about them. So I got my info from Holocaust Encyclopedia, the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, and the actual survivor story. I hope it's not copyright. It's from The Guardian. It's an article called Tales from Auschwitz Survivor Stories. It came out January 26th in 2015, and it was written by Kate Connolly, but she wrote it in the first person. So I started like making it my own, but hearing the survivor tell from the first person is so much more powerful than anything I could do. So much credit to Katie Connolly. She did a fantastic job with that article.
Are you reading it verbatim?
Right. Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm giving her credit. Yeah. Okay, so I learned some information that I was actually not aware of. So Nazi camps, between 1933 and 1945, so it started in 33, Nazi Germany and its allies established more than 44,000 camps and other incarceration sites. The purpose of these camps were for either forced labor, detention of people, and then they initially called the gas chambers euthanasia. That's what they said. So there's some key facts. March 1933, the first concentration camp was in Dachau. And please forgive my pronunciation. I am not German. Dachau. I don't know. I can't speak German.
You know, Craig is going, if he would listen to this, he would rip you apart.
I know. Good thing he doesn't listen to
right. Craig. I think we've said it before, but Craig is our stepfather, and his last name is Salzgiver. So he's German.
He's fluent in German.
So German.
He was stationed in Germany for a while in the army. He's very, very well spoken German. So anyways, this is right outside Munich. And it was primarily for political prisoners. And it was actually the longest running camp because it lasted until 1945. And kind of like I said, there was 44,000 incarceration sites. And then actually it's an estimate because new information is coming out as people go to sites and like do the archaeology. I mean, maybe it's not archaeology because it's not that far ago, but like they do the research with the land and find remnants of things. So not all facilities were concentration camps, but they were all referred to in this way. So the first one, they were used for enemies of the state. So they were mainly political prisoners, German communists, socialists, social democrats, as well as Roma, which people call gypsies, but I don't know if that's acceptable now, but it's in parentheses, like Roma is gypsies. Jehovah's Witnesses, homosexuals, and persons accused of quote unquote asocial or social deviant behavior. So these were called concentration camps, and concentration camps are where people are contained or confined.
Who determined what the social, what was the word again? Social deviant behavior?
The Nazi regime.
So that pretty much just opens it up to whatever a person, like an individual, finds unacceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Yeah. So there's wonderfulness. That was sarcasm. Definitely not wonderfulness. So there were harsh conditions. The people didn't have proper food, proper clothing for the elements. I mean, we know Germany gets snow, and this went on for 12 years, at least in Dachau. So these people were not Dachau. I don't know.
You're making it sound Asian. I mean, you may be pronouncing it correctly, but it has the way you're saying it. It sounds like an Asian, right? Dachau.
Well, I started looking up how to, but there's so many names. I was like, I'm just gonna
German is harsh.
Dachau. Dachau.
Dachau. I don't know.
Dachau.
Let's not do that. Okay.
Okay. All right. So Germany annexed Austria in March of 1939, and Austrian political prisoners came into the Nazi concentration camp. Okay, so this is so sad. I never heard of this. There is a night called Kristallnacht, which is the night of broken glass, which is so sad. That's the name of it. In November 38, I'm so sorry. And they conducted mass arrests of adult male Jews throughout the country. And it was the first time Jews were ever arrested solely because they were Jews. Over 30,000 German Jews were incarcerated at Dachau, Buchenwald, and Sachsenhausen concentration camps in Germany. Okay, so like I said, there's different types of camps. The concentration camps, which is, I already said, is detention of civilians. There's forced labor camps, which, like the name says, they force the people to work, sew, create goods. Yeah.
Sorry, just to go back. Why was it called the Night of Broken Glass? Are you getting into that? Or
No, not at all. I am not.
oh,
Kristallnacht. I guess I could. So Kristallnacht on November 9th and 10th in 1938, Nazi leaders unleashed a series of pogroms. I guess that's like laws, statutes, like go do this, against the Jewish population in Germany and the territories. It's called the Night of Broken Glass. Oh my gosh. Because of the shattered glass that littered the streets after the vandalism and destruction of Jewish-owned businesses, synagogues, and homes. Oh, that almost got me. Okay. Ingy, why'd you ask that question?
well, you know I'm going to.
I know this is such a hard topic. Okay. Forced labor camps, like I said, what they were, they had to work. They just worked, with no relief, overworked actually. Transit camps were, again, like the name, they were in transit. Usually transit camps were the last stop before, the people got to the concentration camps. So it was the last thing they saw before they died. Sorry. Prisoner of war camps. They were for Allied prisoners of war. And then the killing centers. They were established primary or exclusively for the assembly line style murder of large numbers of people immediately upon arrival to the site. There was 5 killing centers for the murder of Jews. They decided to use this term as euthanasia sites because they would murder disabled people. That's initially what they started doing.
Did these individuals know where? I mean, yeah, I've watched like documentaries, I've watched movies where some individuals were kind of tricked into thinking, well, you're just going to get a shower.
Mm-hmm. That's actually the survivor story that I said. Literally, she says that like people were confused and thought that they were going to take a shower.
But then some others, they knew that it was, I guess maybe as time went on and they started hearing stories of what was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. So, in many of the concentration camps, the Nazi SS, which stands for, I can't remember, and I don't care to remember, they either installed or had plans to install gas chambers to assist in the daily business of killing prisoners who were too weak or sick to work. Before the widespread use of gassing in concentration camps, weak, ill, and exhausted prisoners selected by camp physicians were murdered at euthanasia facilities from 41 to 43 and a secret program called 14F13. Gas chambers were also used to kill people who the Nazis wanted to eliminate, which was like Soviet POWs, Polish resistance fighters, pretty much anyone who opposed them. And this was the purpose of the installation of gas chambers at Mothenhausen, Sachsenhausen, Stutthof, Auschwitz I, Ravensbrück, and Lubin-Majdanek. So the camp structure, there was a commandant's headquarters. There was a protective detention office who was run by the security police who managed the moving of the people, arrivals, discharges, discipline, death. There was a commander of the protective detention camp, so who ran that office, admin and supply, and then an SS physician. So after Germany invaded Poland in September 1939, they opened forced labor camps where thousands died from exhaustion, starvation, and exposure. The SS were the ones that were guarding the camps. The camps expanded pretty rapidly during World War II. And this part, I actually didn't know that. Nazi doctors performed medical experiments on prisoners. Okay. So following June 1941, after the German invasion of the Soviet Union, the Nazis increased prisoner of war camps. Some of them were built at existing concentration camp complexes such as Auschwitz in occupied Poland. The camp at Lublin, later known as Majdanek, was established in 1941 as a POW camp and became a concentration camp in 1943. Thousands of Soviet POWs were shot or gassed. So getting onto the killing centers. The killing centers made their first appearance in the Nazi Germany execution of Operation T4, which is what they called the euthanasia program. It was the Nazis' first program of mass murder where disabled patients in German facilities were murdered in gas chambers using carbon monoxide gas. To help carry out the quote-unquote final solution, that's what they called it, which is the mass killing of Jews. They established killing centers in German-occupied Poland, which was the country with the largest Jewish population. They were designed for efficient mass murder, and the first one opened in 1941, and it was Kelmano, where Jews and Roma were gassed in mobile gas vans. In 1942, the Nazis opened Belzec, Sobibor, and Treblinka killing centers, and this was more for government officials, to murder the government officials. Here, the Nazis borrowed the gassing technique from the euthanasia program to murder Jews in gas chambers, again using carbon monoxide generated by engine exhaust. At the Auschwitz camp complex, the Birkenau killing center had 4 gas chambers. Here, they used the pesticide Zyklon B, which is hydrogen cyanide or prussic acid. During the height of the camps in 43 and 44, an average of 6,000 Jews were gassed there each day. Over 2,772,000 Jews, or 46% of Jewish victims, were murdered at killing centers. Millions were mistreated and murdered in the various types of camps. And they murdered more than 3 million Jews in the killing centers alone. Only a fraction of those imprisoned in Nazi camps survived. So that is a little overview of what the camps were like.
The medical experience, I think it was like the Nuremberg experiments or something like that.
Right. That sounds familiar, actually. That sounds familiar. So grab some tissues. Definitely grab some tissues. I'm sorry. Well, I've started crying already. Y'all are used to hearing me cry, so.
And I'll remain muted because you're not used to hearing me cry.
So like I said, I could only read 3 of these survivor stories yesterday, and I chose this one because of, I don't know. I just chose this one. So her name is Irene Fogel-Weiss, or Weiss, W-E-I-S-S. She was born in 1930 in Bodregi, Czechoslovakia, now Batrad, Ukraine. She lives in Virginia in the U.S., and she went back to Auschwitz for her first time in 2015. So here's her story. And yes, okay. We lived in Botregi, a very small, mostly poor town in Czechoslovakia with a population of approximately 1,000 mainly farming families, including about 10 Jewish families. The town was a typical low-income community with a tailor, a shoemaker, a grocery store where people struggled to get by, but where everyone knew each other and there was easy communication between the neighbors, though that didn't mean we were equal. When I was 8 years old, Czechoslovakia broke apart and we became a part of Hungary. That's when our problems started because the Hungarians were allied with the Nazis. It was a difficult time for Jewish families as suddenly the law no longer protected us and overnight we lost our civil rights. My father's lumber business was confiscated and given to a non-Jew and we received no compensation. Jewish children were thrown out of Hungarian schools, so right away we had no choice but to concentrate on hunkering down and trying not to bring attention to ourselves. We couldn't ride the trains, and we had to wear the yellow star. It was a free-for-all. With no law to protect us, it was common for Jews to get beaten up or thrown off the train. It's an incredibly scary feeling when you're exposed to anyone's raw feelings and enmity. These young Nazis habitually roamed around and did tremendous damage to many individuals, but at least we were still in our community and we were not evicted from our home, so that was some comfort. We didn't have radio or much access to newspaper, so all the children were reliant on listening to their parents for information. But I remember many things about the course of the war, who was winning and losing, and the repression of Jews everywhere. Hungary didn't give up its Jewish population until it was invaded by Nazi Germany in 1944. The very first task the German government gave the Hungarians was to round up Jewish families and deport them to Auschwitz. There was a huge relief to take 500,000 Hungarian Jews to Auschwitz. It was a huge rush. I'm so sorry. It was a huge rush to take 500,000 Hungarian Jews to Auschwitz, and it was completed in just 6 weeks and 147 cattle cars. So in the spring of 1944, my family, my parents and their 6 children, the oldest of whom was 17 and I was 13, found ourselves in the Munkacs ghetto, and from there being taken on cattle cars to Auschwitz in Nazi-occupied Poland. Imagine it like this. 3 generations of your family have lived in the same house in the same town. They've struggled to raise a family, put kids through school to feed them all. You have your friends and family. All of a sudden, you were told to leave it all and walk out with a single suitcase. I remember the night of packing very well. Things went in the suitcase. Things were taken out of the suitcase. In the end, my mother filled it with food she had cooked and warm clothing and bedding. Then it was full. Plus, we took a watch, some earrings, a wedding ring with us to exchange for food if necessary. The next day, my father was forced to hand over his remaining money to a delegation that included the mayor and the school principal as they rounded us up at the town hall. We had been absolutely unaware of such a place as Auschwitz. It was the stunning reversal of the life we had up until then, and I cannot emphasize enough how utterly scary it is to be at the mercy of your fellow human beings. As a child, I could not understand what we had done to deserve going there. I can't read through my tears. My father surveyed the scene from the train and could see prisoners, uniforms, and barracks. So he immediately thought it was a work camp, and that was reassuring. If we can work, it can't be such a dreadful place. We had heard about the stories in Poland and lots of mass shootings of Jews or people being taken into the forest and shot. So it was a relief to see out the window that there was actually a system. Even though we were victims of discrimination at that stage, that's all it was, as we had no clue then that this was a very carefully orchestrated plan of genocide. We could not have imagined that they would kill little children until we realized that killing children was their primary goal to prevent any new generation. Because desperate people will always look to find some sign of hope, we thought to ourselves, even if we have to work, at least we'll see each other occasionally. But the German system was full of this sort of deception. It counted on people's normal perception of things, thinking we were going to a work camp, thinking that you were going to take a shower when in fact you were going to the gas chambers. That was the ultimate deceit. When we arrived, it was, as I later found out, the usual story, though not to us at the time. Our family was torn apart on the platform arriving. My sister Serena was chosen for slave labor. My mother and the younger children were sent off to one side, and my father and 16-year-old brother to the other side. I held tightly onto the hand of my 12-year-old sister, and for an instant, I was mistaken for being older than I was, probably because I was wearing a headscarf that my mother had given me. My sister was sent with my mother. Oh my goodness, I need a minute. Well, I went to the opposite side. That was the first chance I had to survive. Unbeknown to any of us at the time, 2 Nazi soldiers had been asked to make a photographic document of the deportation of Hungarian Jews from the moment they got off the train, through the entire system of arriving, going to the bathhouse, and getting their prison clothes. So I ended up in a picture at the very moment I was separated from my sister. It captures me standing alone, without my family, on the Auschwitz platform. I'm leaning inwards to see where my little sister had gone. Another picture we discovered shows my family waiting in line for the gas chamber. 2 little boys, my brothers Reuven and Gershon, oh my goodness, are shown dressed in hats and struggling to put on his winter coat. For a long time, I failed to find my mother and was very unhappy, but I spent long hours looking at these photos with a magnifying glass, and one day I found her little face sticking out. The pictures only came to light 25 years ago, and despite showing them moments from around 45 years before that, they completely captured the entire experience as it had been in my mind all that time. I was dumbfounded and devastated, having had no idea they existed, and I have spent literally hundreds of hours scouring them, trying to find my father and brother. The pictures have reassured me that I was not imagining it at all, as sometimes thought I might have done. The reality of where we were struck home fairly quickly. I was stationed near crematorium number 4, and we witnessed the columns of unsuspecting women and children entering the gate of the crematorium. They would have been dead within half an hour. When the Hungarian Jews arrived, they had the gas chambers going day and night. How can you wrap your imagination around that? I still can't. I was with my older sister, Serena, and we were sent to be forced laborers together in the Birkenau section of Auschwitz. Many times we were threatened with separation, but somehow we managed to stay together. Later on, to our great relief, we ran into my mother's 2 younger sisters, our aunts Rose and Piri, who were in their early 20s. It was like finding our parents. They were such a huge moral and emotional support for us. On about 17 January or 18 January 1945, the SS dragged thousands of us out to the camp to walk to Ravensbrück concentration camp deep into central Germany. I don't know why. We were in terrible straits with no proper clothing, nothing suitable for marching through the snow. It was as if the cruelty would never end. If anyone sat down out of exhaustion, they were shot. Later, we were transported yet again, and my Aunt Piri became ill and was killed. As the Soviets approached, the SS left, and I, Serena, and Rose took shelter in an empty house nearby. The Russians came, but for some reason left again immediately, so we're left to fend for ourselves. We spent months trying to get to Prague, where we knew he had some relatives, and from there we went to Sudetenland. I got to go to school. My sister found work in a factory, and Rose was sick at home with tuberculosis. We initially had no idea what happened to the rest of the family and had no access to a phone, but on buildings everywhere, lists were put up stating who was still alive. Everyone you met, you asked. Every meeting of refugees was dominated by trying to find out where your relatives were. Eventually, I discovered that of around 100 people from my town who were deported, only about 10 survived, only 2 of whom were children, my sister and me. But there was not one parent and one child who lived. All of them were killed. Serena now lives in New Jersey with her family, including 3 children and grandchildren. We've both managed to hang on in there, but she can't come to Auschwitz because her elderly husband is sick. For years, when we talked about our experiences, she would say to me, "You probably don't remember. You were too young," as I was 4 years younger. But some things I remember even more sharply than her and my aunt. I'm often asked how I cope. I never went to a psychologist, and I never will. Quite simply, I kept it at a distance. I saw and understood, and yet I didn't. I've never cried over the columns of children and mothers I saw. When I was in Auschwitz, I thought, this isn't not actually on Earth. It was a system of masters and slaves, gods and subhumans, and I thought to myself, no one knows about it. It's in the forest, surrounded by multiple layers of fence. It's not actually real. I never let it penetrate that my parents were killed, and I even thought, after this, we're going home and everyone will be there again. Those who never managed to keep it at a distance killed themselves. I threw myself into family life. I married young. I had 3 children. I now also have 4 grandchildren. And then I went to college and became a teacher. You fall into a routine and do the best you can. But I've never lost the feeling of how unreliable human beings are. And neither am I fooled by superficial civilization. But I realize that loss of faith in people is more devastating than loss of faith in God. I won't be going back to Auschwitz after this visit, so it's my last chance to make sure this tragedy is not forgotten. I found out only about a week before I was due to leave that I'll be one of the 2 survivors who will be part of the U.S. presidential delegation headed by the Secretary of Treasury, Jack Lew. So this is back in 2015. And I feel very honored, but it has much to do with the fact that many others who could go are ill and unable to travel. So that's the story of Irene. I can't imagine like that picture of her little brother trying to get his jacket on while he's waiting in line at the gas chamber.
That got me.
We should never forget. And those people that say it doesn't happen, you can go fuck yourselves. I remember when I lived in Mirror Springs, I went to go play bunco one night in my community, and I lived in tennis villas. So it was it was actually a primarily older population. It wasn't senior living because there wasn't an age requirement, but I think it was unofficial senior living that my house was in. And I sat next to this lady and I was playing bunco with her, and she showed me her identification number on her arm. She was Polish, and like she was the most amazing woman I'd ever talked to. Just so sweet and so much love. And she was a child when it happened, but I can't imagine. There are things that you can do for January 27th. There's a TV show, actually. It's called Stay Connected Live Virtual Series, and it will feature Irene Weiss, the lady whose story I wrote. And it'll be on Friday, January 27th, 2023, this year at 9:30 Eastern. It's on the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum website. So it's ushmm.org. And if you go to, I don't know how I got here. There's a link that you can do to watch the episode and listen to her speak. Her story is very powerful. And the fact that she was, I don't know. I think I understand, like, how could you believe that people would actually do that to another human being? It's really hard to believe.
Do you have more?
No.
Thank God.
I'm done. That was a very emotionally draining. Yeah. So don't forget how crappy humans can be, and don't forget how amazing those people that survived are. And God rest the souls that were lost.
Yes. Well, let's do B's. Maybe we can say, like, let's change our B's. Like, you can have a B and then you can have a don't be.
Okay.
Be a human, but not the kind of human that she remembered. Be like a real human.
Don't lose your soul.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
I knew you were going to say that.
Don't be a Nazi. Oh. Don't be so hateful.
And don't be forgetful.
Yeah.
I guess. Be remembering. Okay. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. If you would like to reach out to us or submit your situation, please contact us at anothersituationpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at Another Situation Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Another Situation.
Another Situation is produced and edited by Point 5 Pinoy. Music is written and performed by Tim Crow.